Guys, so before we get started today, if you want to be able to donate or purchase a question, you can find my Cash App, PayPal, Amazon wishlist, PO box down in the description box below. Thank you guys so much for whatever you do to support this channel, whether it be doing any of that or liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. It helps me out so much. So thank you guys for that. So today, let's see what messages are going to be coming out for us. But first, we have this box from Rose Forever. They got a hold of me a couple weeks ago, and I was really wanting to get some of these last year. I actually looked into these last year, so it's pretty awesome that I ended up getting to get some. See if I can get this open. Apparently I should have opened it before I started this. So, we have this beautiful box of roses from Rose Forever, and they smell absolutely phenomenal as well. These roses will last over a year, and they are not treated with chemicals of any kind. They are treated naturally. They come from Ecuador originally and will last over a year, which is awesome. Plus, they're just absolutely beautiful, and they smell so good too. So, I will probably be doing updates on this later as well to show you what condition they're in after it's been a little while. But so far, I'm extremely pleased with these roses. Although, if I had my choice, I would have picked a different color because they got some amazing colors on there. They got bright blue and dark blue and purple and orange and all kinds of crazy colors on there. If you are interested in other colors, you can find a link in my description box and some more information on the company Rose Forever out of New York. And you get $25 off of your purchase if you click on that link in the description box below, as well as I get a commission for it too, which is awesome. And right now, because of Valentine's Day coming up, they already have a sale going on site-wide. I can't remember exactly how much percentage off it is, so I don't want to say without being able to remember that. But on top of that, you get to add the $25 off from the coupon code by clicking on my link. So if you just want to go check out those roses, that's awesome too. I really was so excited when she contacted me. I had another thing that I was working on with somebody, and I was like, oh, this is taking up so much time, and I already got so many things going on, and I really, it's such a good opportunity, but I got to let this go. And when I finally decided to let that opportunity go, that's when this one came in, which was an awesome opportunity. Plus, I was looking into these last year, and I really wanted to be able to get some of these roses myself. And I am so satisfied with these roses. They are absolutely beautiful. They smell so amazing, and they are definitely 100% real, but will last for a year without watering them or anything else, which is awesome. I have never had roses that have lasted that long before. I think the longest I've had them last with the food that they give you to go with it is like a month. And still they were in pretty rough condition for like the last week and a half of that month. So let's get those out of the way. And let's see what our messages are for today. I may bring those back out towards the end of this video too, so everybody can see them again at that point. So, for one thing, I feel like the scales of justice and the way that you see justice may have been very modified by a recent experience. There could have actually been somebody that had done something absolutely awful and horrible to you, and you might not have known who exactly did this, but you were praying for that justice to take place, and you were really hoping that this person would get theirs. And then all of a sudden you realized who this person was that had done some of those things. They may have apologized to you. something along those lines. And then all of a sudden you found yourself praying for their forgiveness. Please forgive this person. Please help them to be able to make it through whatever karmic lessons that they have. Please take it easy on them. I love them so much and I don't want to see them go through this pain. It doesn't matter what they did to me. I really am not looking forward to this. Can you please help out with what they're going through? And so this could have been something that really modified the way that you are looking at karmic justice and the way that you might pray when it comes to the people that you're dealing with who have hurt you. Please forgive us our trespasses as we have forgiven those who have trespassed against us. Might be a little bit more at the forefront of your mind in recent times. This could definitely have something to do with somebody watching you online or somebody gang stalking you in some sort of way online. Hi, beautiful. Nice to see you today. It could even be something to do with your dreams as well. You might have even had dreams about this situation or something along those lines. There could have been a lot of coldness between you and this person. This person could have had a lot of hatred for you for a little while for some reason. And they may not have even known the full situation that was going on. So they might have blamed you without even really looking into it as well. I don't blame you if you move on. I'm a mess. So somebody is definitely telling you, I don't blame you if you don't want to help me, if you don't want to deal with me, if you don't want to have anything to do with me, because I'm a mess and I get it. And I wouldn't want to be around me either, especially with what I've done to you. But I feel like you love this person so much that you are willing to forgive and you are willing to sit down and talk to this person to see if you guys can come to some sort of agreement or to see if you guys can get on the same page about whatever it is that's been going on. There could definitely be a lot of gifts coming your way at this time or a lot of abundance coming your way at this time. This could even be somebody that maybe you gifted a lot in the past. Or it could be somebody who gifted you a lot in the past as well. You may be learning a lot of new things right now. Maybe even learning a lot of new things about this person or this situation and what has been going on in this situation. You may be learning how to come out of some sort of shadow of invisibility as well and to allow yourself to stand out. I just listened to Stand Out from a Goofy movie this morning. That could be a good song to listen to as well. You're ready to take center stage and you're ready to leave behind any kind of disguises or any kind of cover-ups that you feel like you've had to put on in order to be a part of this world. Some of you may even be thinking about sitting down for therapy or spiritual sessions in order to work through some of the things that you got going on. And this could be that you have already done that and you have really worked very hard to be able to get through some of those things. You passed the test, A+++. So this situation that was going on where you have sacrificed yourself at the altar regarding the karma of somebody who did you wrong, and you have prayed for them to be forgiven, for them to be able to make it through whatever karmic lessons they have going on. You have prayed for them to not be punished as severely as maybe you might have been praying for them to be punished in the past. Because you have done this, that is a lot of what caused you to pass this test. You're starting to see more now that we are all human, that we all make mistakes. And that sometimes we do things to those that we love without thinking before we do it, without having all the information. Sometimes we mess up, and you're more willing to forgive now when people mess up than you may have been in the past, which also helps you to be more forgiving of yourself for the past so that you can accept, acknowledge, and look at what has happened in the past without denying it anymore. 9/11 was on the screen a minute ago. So there could have even been like an emergency situation, something that was like immediate and really needed your attention. And you could have jumped into this situation fully, just thrown yourself into this situation. There might have been a lot of people who were like, oh, don't do that. Oh, don't go anywhere near that. Oh, you don't want to be a part of this mess. Oh, be so afraid of everything going on. But you were like, no, I need to get in there and I need to do what I need to do. And you walked in there, head held high, and you showed off the skills that you have cultivated. And you really made a difference in this situation. So you're really being seen right now, heard right now, recognized right now for everything that you are. Yes, this is live. Nice to see you today. So there is definitely a lot going on right now as far as getting more in touch with your inner child, getting more in touch with the emotions you have within yourself, healing that, really looking at it. You might have had your heart in a freezer for a long time at this point. I'm so glad that you made it for this live today. I really enjoyed doing the live readings. And I never know where they're going to go when I start them, so it's different than doing the pick-a-card ones. So there could definitely have been somebody that you were dealing with that might have been acting like a child in some sort of way, and it could have even been a child as well. And this person really made a mess of everything that was going on. There could have been a lot of coldness between you. There could have been a lot of despair, a lot of worrying, a lot of heartache and heartbreak. But this is now being freed. I feel like you are getting so much more in touch with your emotions, and you are really allowing your inner child to come out and play and have a good time. I feel like even you might have been acting out in ways because you were suppressing that inner child. And when you suppress that inner child, it can come out in other ways. Everybody is childlike in some way. There's good ways and bad ways. And a lot of people, when they're in that childlike energy, a lot of times it's like throwing temper tantrums or hitting a wall or whatever the case may be, screaming at people, feeling like you're blocked in and caged in and like you have to escape in some way, running away from a situation. All of those things can be inner child wounds. And that's where that childlike energy is coming out, because you're not allowing that childlike energy to come out in healthier ways, because you are afraid to let that child inside of yourself out, because you feel like you won't be safe or you won't be protected. Because for this whole time that your inner child has been locked away, you locked that inner child away for their own protection. You were like, nah, you need to be locked away for your own protection because you can't take care of yourself, and I got to make sure that you're safe all the time. Kind of like people try to do with their own kids sometimes. And really, that doesn't work, because it ends up coming out in very bad ways. When you try to lock your children away because you don't want them to get hurt, what do you think happens? They sneak out, and then they end up getting hurt because nobody knows where they're at, what they're doing. And generally, they're doing a lot worse things than they would have been doing if they would have been allowed to go out had they talked to you. But now they didn't even talk to you, and they just snuck out and did it anyway. That's kind of what goes on when you lock your inner child away. Is it comes out in very unhealthy ways that end up fucking up everything in your life. And so you have really gotten more in touch with your emotions. You've gotten more in touch with your intuition. You've gotten more in touch with that softer, more vulnerable, sensitive side of yourself. And you're allowing that side of yourself to come out. You're allowing yourself to dream big and believe big like you did when you were a child. And you're allowing yourself to really get in touch with that. Wishes do come true. And every time I talk about wishes, this song comes up. A dream is a wish your heart makes when you're fast asleep. In a dream you will lose your heartaches. Whatever you wish for, you keep. La 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 la. La 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 la. Yeah. So let's see what other messages we have today. And once again, if anybody wants to be able to purchase or make a donation, you can find my Cash App, PayPal, Amazon wishlist, P.O. box in the description box below. Thank you guys so much for whatever support you send this way, whether it be that or liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. Every bit of it helps me out, and I so appreciate you guys so much for doing that. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing, and my channel would not be growing. So awesome, and thank you to you. So, there will be hell to pay for messing with your energy. They can no longer harvest from you. Practice self-love and self-care. Don't let their behavior distract you from your goals. It is your time to shine. No one can hold you back but you. So get on track, remove the fear, remove the doubt, and have faith and trust in the divine path. Take accountability and really look in the mirror and ask yourself who has been stopping you this entire time. Because it might have been out of fear that this person wouldn't be around anymore, or out of fear of being more seen and more heard and more attacked, or whatever the case may be. But it's time to step up and do the things that you feel like you should be doing in your life, regardless of what's going on with anybody else, and not allowing your energy to be distracted or torn and focused so heavily on the people that have been hurting you. And that's where a lot of that energy came in too, of this could definitely have been somebody that you knew and loved very deeply. And when you found out who was behind this, you might have fallen on that altar and sacrificed yourself, saying, wait a second, please, please give this person another chance. Please help them to be able to make it through this. Please don't punish them so severely, because I love them so much and I really don't want to see them in pain. It doesn't matter what they did to me. I don't want to see them in that same pain. And so it really shifted the way that you're looking at things, and it shifted the way that you are able to handle things as well. It's allowing you to be able to step up in a much stronger way, and to stop worrying so much about who it is that is attacking you as well. And just allowing yourself to be able to believe, trust, and have faith in the fact that nothing's going to be able to stop you with what you are meant to do. Drop the burden. So much weight falls on me, so much weight it's hard to see. A load so heavy for me to bear, it doesn't really seem so fair. But heavy is the crown I wear, adorned as it is with so much flair. Blessed in life I will be, blessed in life for all to see. I sacrificed so much in life, took up armor for the chaos and strife. Fought the battle for the light, at the end gates, about to win this fight. No more running from the dark, singing as happy as a free lark. I dropped the load I carried so far, and somehow everything was on par. Surrendered all my cares and worries, turned my prayers into queries. Now I'm at peace right where I am, able to sleep like a peaceful lamb. So if you guys want to be able to find this poem again, there is a link for Dee's story time in the description box below, and all my poems are on there. It would be awesome if you could like, share, comment, and subscribe over there too. That helps me out a lot as well. So right now, you have decided that that is just too much to carry. And all that weight on your shoulders is weighing you down. You could have been in a lot of pain as well, a lot of physical pain. There could have been a lot of back pain, a lot of hip pain. There could have been a lot of numbness in your hands and in your arms. There could have been a lot of tingling. There could have been a lot of energy blocks going on because of all the crap that you were carrying around on your shoulders with you, that you are now ready to just let it all go. One of the best ways that you can do that, meditation-wise, when you're in the shower, imagine that water hitting you. First off, pray over that water. Ask that water to be blessed. Ask that water to be filled with love, light, peace, joy, happiness, weightlessness. Allow that water to wash over you. And as it does, imagine all of the darkness, all of the weight of the world, all of the shadows, everything washing down and off of you and down the drain, being given back to the earth for healing and transmutation and transformation to raise the vibes of the collectives. Allowing it all to just wash off and down the drain. And as you do that, allow all your muscles to become soft. Allow peace to enter you. Allow your body to just relax and every bit of tension to run out of you and down the drain along with it. And then call back all the pieces of your soul, all the pieces of your energy, all the parts of you that are scattered throughout time and space. And as you call that back, feel and see in your mind's eye yourself filling up with that beautiful white light. It doesn't matter what color it is. It depends on what you're working on. Sometimes without you even guiding it, it'll turn into a different color, like orange for the sacral chakra or red for the root chakra. And all of that is coming back to you and filling you up with that light, that peace, that joy, that happiness, that optimism, that hope, that faith. And then protecting that energy in some sort of way. I like to put a crystal ball around it, and then I like to put little shards of mirrors around the outside of that so that any kind of negative energy coming towards me gets reflected right back to the owner, and it stays with them because it is not mine to carry around with me. Even being a healer, especially, it's especially important being a healer when you're dealing with other people, for their energy not to become your energy, for you not to absorb that and carry it as if it is yours, because it isn't yours. You are not responsible for it. They are responsible for their own energy. And if you carry around everybody's energy with you and the weight of the world on your shoulders, you really can't help a whole lot of people, because you are the one being brought down and weighed down and burdened. So, let's see what else we got here. Someone met someone else behind the scenes. They already knew each other when you met. It could have been orchestrated. This happened for a reason for you both. Lessons needed to be learned on both sides. At this point, their view of you has changed. They no longer think that you are the problem or blame you. They have been very painfully forced to look into the mirror. They are seeing how they have destroyed everyone who has ever loved them. They don't want to do this anymore. Look within for the answers. Let them go and the answers will come. A deep song about loving someone for who they are. So, every relationship or connection or friendship or family connection, everything has its own problems, its own complications. Every interaction that we make with people, there's always something. And so it's time to really let some of these things go a bit. Allow things to unfold naturally. Try not to spend all your time wanting to control the situation or trying to steer the situation in any way. Just let it all go and allow it to be what it is. 22:22 is on the clock. Finding peace and harmony is something that you have to really work at. Peace and harmony inside of yourself cultivates peace and harmony around you. Hi, beautiful. Nice to see you today. This could definitely be something where, like we were talking about at the beginning of this video, this could be somebody that you really cared for, that you really loved, that you really were very close to, or that you really felt a strong kinship with, or that bond was just extremely strong and beautiful, and you thought unbreakable. But this could definitely be a situation where this person turned on you in some sort of way. This person self-sabotaged, and this person may have sabotaged you. This person really didn't want you to be around them because they may have felt in some sort of way that they kill or destroy everything that comes into their life, or they may have felt that way about you as well. And so they wanted to protect themselves from you coming in and destroying their life in some sort of way. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter exactly why they did it. It doesn't matter what they were going through. What matters most is the fact that you can either allow that poison to become your own and carry it around with you, or you can let it go and allow it to be what it is. There is definitely going to be a need for forgiveness if you want to be able to continue this situation with this person. And forgiveness means the past is in the past, and it is no longer a part of your connection or what you have between each other going forward. That doesn't mean that this person's going to live up to the trust that you're extending them again. That doesn't mean that everything's going to go perfect. That means you're taking a leap of faith. Because without that trust, you cannot be a part of each other's life anymore. Without that forgiveness, without that love, you cannot be a part of each other's lives anymore. You cannot be what you need to be in each other's lives. And for yourself and for this person, it's best if you just go your separate ways if you're not going to be able to put it behind you. Awesome. I am so happy to hear that, because you know what? That means that the universe is definitely trying to stress this message for you. And there have been people who have done some really dirty things to me. And at the end of the day, I waited, you know, and at times they do actually atone. At times they do actually turn things around. At times they don't want to be in that state of destroying everything good that comes into their life anymore. At times they are ready to let go of the past and they're ready to turn over a new leaf. Sometimes they aren't. And it's not always going to happen that they are ready for that. It's not always going to happen that things are going to go good just because you decided to take that leap of faith. Taking that leap of faith doesn't just mean that there's going to be no hurdles to overcome, or that there's going to be no obstacles, or that there's going to be no fall. What it means is, even with that fall, you're still going to be able to fly at the end of the day. That fall is not going to take you down with it. And it's not going to take you down with it because you have detached from it enough to know that if this situation does end painfully and horribly and everything just blows up and catches on fire, that you're still going to be okay at the end of the day. You don't need this situation. Sure, you would like to have it in your life, but you don't need this situation. And because you don't need it, you don't place so much of yourself in it to where you are able to have this situation, but you're able to still continue forward even if this situation falls away. The hawk, opportunistic. Oh, that's not what that says, but opportunistic. There might actually be a lot of opportunities for you to be able to jump on right now if you're able to look at things from a higher perspective. There might actually be a lot of doors that could be open to you, and a lot of good things that can come from repairing some of the damaged connections that you've had in your life. If you're willing to overcome that fear, doubt, and anxiety, to take that leap of faith and to believe that something good can come out of the ashes that are laying at your feet. Think about the phoenix rising up from the ashes and how beautiful it is, the new life that comes after the death of the forest, and how beautiful it is. Do you think those trees sit around and wonder whether or not they're going to get burned down if they decide to grow after the whole forest just got burned down? No, they don't. They grow anyway. They don't worry about whether or not they're going to get burned down. Spent all that time creating this beautiful tree just to get burnt down. They don't worry about that. They just grow. And they let things be as they are because they know there's a cycle of life. And through those deaths come new life. Sometimes the same life, sometimes a different life. Optimistic, decisive, strategic, creative. Rebirth, guardianship, fearlessness, protection, memory. Be perceptive about others. Don't allow situations or people to deceive you. Be on guard and don't lose faith in your perceptions. Whether others cause doubt or not, you have vision and intuition. The hawk is calling on you to rely on it. See situations from a different and higher perspective. Keep the bigger picture in focus. It's time to take flight and to reach for the skies. So try not to overthink things. Try not to get stuck on all the tiny little details and all the crazy things that are going on outside yourself. Try to remain focused on what the bigger picture is. The bigger picture is not what happened in the past or the tiny little petty squabbles or things like that. It's what can come of this situation when you're able to overcome those things. When people are, say, married for 50 years, they're not married for 50 years because nothing happened. They're married for 50 years because this guy cheated and she was like, you know what? I think we might be able to make it through this. And they talk it out and they work through it and they overcome that situation. And sometimes the people change and sometimes they don't. And sometimes the people stay and sometimes they don't. It's time to take flight and to reach for the skies. Trust your instincts in making decisions or completing tasks. The universe is helping you to expand your knowledge and to learn lessons. And everyone makes mistakes anyway. Hawks represent messengers of the spiritual realm, and you are being guided through these lessons for the highest good. Trust in that and in the nudges that you are receiving. So, you are being nudged forward right now to take action on something, and it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to you. It might be something that you were even pushed away from in the past. You might have been receiving a lot of messages to steer clear of whatever this was in the past. Maybe that wasn't the right time to deal with it. And right now you're being pushed towards it, and you're like, well, which is it? What do you want from me? And why am I going towards it now? What about all the warnings before? Don't let any of that get in the way, because right now is the right time to do whatever it is to bring peace and harmony to this situation that you're dealing with. To be able to make strong connections, stable connections, good connections, connections that can be counted on and relied on in the future in some way. And that would be the bigger picture. Hawks represent messengers of the spiritual realm, and you are being guided through these lessons for the highest good. Trust in that, and trust in the nudges that you're receiving. Time to open up. Vulnerability is the key. Open yourself for all to see. Time to shine your blinding light. Time to leave behind the fight. Moving forward, it's time to see who is really there for me. I've always felt alone and lost. Power seemed to come at a cost. Now there will be others there. Time to drop that wall and share. Moving forward, looking back, there is nothing that I lack. 5/11/21. And if you want to be able to find that poem, once again, Dee's StoryTime's in the description box below. And that's where all my poems are. So, it is extremely hard to put your heart on a plate and hand it to somebody. To put all your fears and your worries aside. To not care whether or not they tell the entire world what you're sharing with them right now. To not care whether or not when you start shedding those tears in front of them, they're going to say something like, oh, what are you going to do? Cry about it? What are you, just a little bitch? Who cares? Who cares? There is strength in being able to put those tears out there. There is strength in being able to put your heart out there. There is beauty in it, amazingness in it. And if you want to have connections that are intimate, that are close, that feel like you're finally not alone, the only way to do that is to put your fucking heart out there and not care. To not care if somebody takes what you give them and shouts it from the rooftops. Look here, everybody. Look at this person. And that's reminding me of Friday for some reason, where he's like, hey, everybody, Smokey's back here taking a shit. I don't know why it reminded me of that, but it did. Because that's about how bad it is. That's about how bad it feels. Think about if you were taking a shit behind a house and somebody went out there and yelled and told the whole neighborhood that that's what you're doing. And everybody's coming over to see you taking that shit. Well, it's the same thing. And you got to be okay with that. You got to be okay with the fact that it's not going to be hidden anymore. Your heart is going to be out there in the open. And yes, it can be hurt, but it will never be destroyed. Because you have cultivated that heart into such a beautifully strong entity that it can never be taken out. It can never be turned cold. It can never be twisted against you. Or anyone else. You're very welcome, sweetheart. And you know, they might not. Some people really do surprise you. But it's not about whether or not they're going to take that and run with it. What it's about is whether or not you were able to put it out there and not care. And every time that something like that happens, where you share yourself and you put your vulnerability out there, and it gets used or abused, or somebody stomps on it, or spits on it, every single time, For a little while, yeah, it makes you close up more and more and more and more and more. But after a while, it makes you not even give a shit anymore. Who cares anymore? And those are the best parts of you. Those aren't the worst parts of you. Those aren't the parts that should be hidden away and buried in the shadow. Those are the parts of you that make you absolutely amazing. And those should definitely not be something that you're ashamed of. Just like the stories of abuse that people have. And yeah, it can hurt when people are taking those and spreading them, especially even if you run around telling everybody. Everybody knows my abuse. I mean, it's on the internet with 3,500 followers over here. And it still crushed me when I found out that a good friend of mine was running around town telling people my stories from her perspectives. And I had people coming to judge me and tell me that they already knew my entire story without even meeting me. It did hurt. But at the end of the day, I don't give a shit what that person thinks about me. I don't even know that person. There are people in this town who actually think that I stabbed an ex of mine, I don't know which one, in the eyeball with a fork. Amazing, some of the things that people believe. That one I actually started laughing at when she told me, and she was so scared to tell me. She's like, somebody just told me something about you, and I don't even know if I should be mentioning it. I don't know if I should ask about it because I don't know if it's real. I mean, I met you and I don't think that happened, but I don't know. And I was like, yeah, and for peace of mind, you'd like to know whether or not it's true? I can completely understand that. And she told me about it, and I just started laughing, and I was like, yeah, that never happened. No. I am such a pacifist fucking person. There was one time in the last couple years where my ex-mother-in-law put her hands on me, and I stood there and waited for her to let go of me before telling her what I thought about it. And my words can fucking hurt. Oh, they can fucking hurt. I'm like, you don't believe that your son was abusive? Where do you think he got it from? Maybe you should look in the fucking mirror, because he got it from you. But even with that, I was so happy that I had cultivated so much patience over the years, because I am so glad that I did not hit the woman that I called mom for 10 years. It doesn't matter what she was doing or how she was behaving in that moment. At the end of the day, I know that underneath everything else, I love her. And I would have been devastated to have hit her. Plus, when everybody was running around town telling people that I beat up an old woman, I wouldn't have been able to deny it. An old woman tried to beat me up, and I stood my ground without using violence. Which is very much what I believe in, but that doesn't mean it's always going to work out that way either. At times, there is times where violence is the only way to stand up and defend yourself. Say somebody is trying to rape you. And yes, I have gotten out of that one several times without having to use violence too. But if it came down to it, I know at this point that I would be able to use violence if it was needed. For myself or for my children. And actually for anybody else, honestly. For many years before I was able to do it for myself, I was able to do it for other people. And that's because I really felt, when I was a kid, my cousin, I was about 7 years old. My cousin came to live with me. Her name was Mandy. And she was absolutely beautiful, fucking amazingly bright light, fucking beautiful. She had white blonde hair, big, huge, bright blue eyes. And I was the girl that was friends with all the boys. We were running around making bows and arrows and playing cowboys and Indians and playing in the river and in the sagebrush and at points catching snakes and lizards and things like that. And so when she showed up, because she moved in with us, we lived in this little tiny 2-bedroom trailer with 5 kids and my mom. And then her friend and her 2 kids moved in with us because her husband was abusing her and the kids, apparently. And when she got there, every boy that was around there that I was friends with, hers is with a Y. Every boy that I was friends with was completely enamored with her. They followed her around like lost little puppy dogs, and all their focus was on her all the time. This is why I don't do jealousy, because I was fairly jealous of it. And I wasn't the nicest person to her. Well, there was one night, my older sisters used to have a lot of parties. My mom worked from 3 in the afternoon till sometimes 3 in the morning. And so basically when I got home from school, she took off to work. There was a lot of parties that we used to have in our house because my sisters were 15 and 16-ish at the time. And I don't remember what was going on that night. A lot of nights I was able to stay up and be a part of it because I was like, oh, I'm going to tell mom if you don't let me be a part of it. That night, I wasn't a part of it. Me and Mandy were in bed, and the Mexican boys from across the street, which were about the same age as us, I think they were like a year and 2 years younger than I was. So they were the same age as her because I think she was a year younger than me. They came over and held her down, trying to start something, who knows what, because at that age, do they even really know what to do anyway? And to this day, I honestly don't know if it was out of jealousy or fear of my sister, because my sister was fucking, at that point in time, she's not a person that you wanted to know at all in any way. She's a very different person today than she was then. Everybody has their own cycles to break. But when she came in to see what was going on, and she was trying to tell her what had happened, she's like, well, I don't see anybody in here. And she asked me if anything was going on, and I told her no. After she left, they jumped back out the window. And a couple years later, I got to find out why they were so enamored with her. Why she drew them in like flies to shit. And it was because she had been molested by her father and her grandfather. And I got molested myself a couple years later. And I don't care what anybody says about it. And it doesn't make me feel bad in any way to say that I feel like that was my karma. That was a karmic lesson that I needed to go through so that I would not turn the other cheek again. So that I would know what it felt like to be in that position. So that if I ever found myself in a position of power like that again, that I would not react and respond in the same way. And sure enough, I got tested on that at 15 years old. I was walking around one day, it was about 11 o'clock, and then we ran into this girl that was 13 years old, and she was drunk. And I'm like, okay, well, we got to keep an eye on her, but we didn't even know who she was. But there was no way I was letting her wander around drunk like that, especially in the trailer park that we were in. So we run into these guys at this house. Once again, it was Mexicans, but that's just because the town I grew up in, there was a lot of Mexicans. There's definitely a lot of white people I've had that happen with, and I haven't been around a whole lot of black people. I haven't been around a whole lot of, but I've been around a lot of Mexicans and a lot of white people. So anyway, and I have Mexicans and black people both in my family. But anyway, so we ran into these guys. It's a group of like 4 or 5 guys, and they're in their 20s. And she's talking about this guy. Oh, this guy is the best guy ever. He's like my big brother. He would protect me through anything and blah, 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 blah. And so as she's talking about this other guy that's part of the group grabs her and drags her into this trailer and shuts the door. And she's like freaking out and trying to get away. And I looked at this guy that she was just saying is like my big brother. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me right now? And this is exactly how I said it. 15 years old, and this guy's like 26, 27. I looked at him and I was like, are you fucking kidding me right now? After everything she just said about how, oh, this guy's like my big brother and he would protect me and he's such a great guy, you're really going to let this go down right now. You're really going to let your friend rape her. What the hell is wrong with you? 5 seconds later, he's at that door banging on it. And his buddy opened it and he grabbed him and pulled him outside and he's like, she's coming back out here. So that day she wasn't a rape victim. But if it wasn't for what I went through, she may have been. Which is why I had to go through what I went through. Because the last time I did turn the cheek instead of doing something. It took me a whole hell of a lot longer to do something for myself in that situation than it did to do something for other people. Probably because I didn't feel like I deserved to have that defense. But I do now. Because everybody makes mistakes, and at that time I was just a child. But even just a child, you still got to learn those things. Freedom is peace. Free your mind and free your soul. Unbind yourself, that's the goal. Rock the boat and feel the tide. Learning to enjoy the ride. No more thoughts to hold me back. There is nothing that I lack. Simple joy in everything. All life makes me dance and sing. I am free to be myself. No time to rust on a shelf. 1/7/22. So now is the time to bring out all of those parts of yourself that you have always felt did not deserve to see the light of day. Those parts of yourself that you've tried to hide away in shame or guilt or fear or distrust of the world around you. It's time to bring those things out. There are so many people that will tell you to hide everything you are from the world, because if you show them anything, they're going to attack you. They're going to take it. They're going to steal from you. They're going to destroy you. That's the fear and anxiety talking. That's the distrust talking. That's the separation and division talking. That is not unity. That is not love. That is not authenticity. That is hide yourself away from the world for whatever reason. And that is not going to get you anywhere. What's going to get you somewhere is being able to put yourself out there, being able to see yourself as amazing, and being able to not give a flying fuck what happens if you do put yourself out there. My dad was always one. He didn't even want his picture on Facebook for a long time. It took a long time for him to be okay with his picture being on Facebook. And what's crazy is he was one of the few people who actually sounded like he was in complete support about what I was doing, which is fucking crazy because he was always so worried about everybody's gonna know everything and the government's watching us and blah, 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 blah. I'm surprised he wasn't like, all kinds of crazy people can find you if you put yourself out there like that. But he also was on the, I'm a hustler, you're a hustler, and you can do this. And I was like, Dad, it's not about hustling. And you're a good actress. It's not about hustling or acting. But, you know, it was nice to have somebody in my corner at least. That self-loathing, that hatred, that division, that hating other people for the things they do, but hiding those skeletons in your own closet because you don't want anybody to see it because you're busy hating people for what they're doing, so everybody's going to hate you for whatever's hidden in your closet too. No. It's time to bring those things out, and it's time to be okay with who you are. It's kind of like I was talking about earlier, my older sister, and not wanting to know her then. Yeah, you probably would have not wanted to be anywhere around her then. And I mean, if some people weren't around her, if some people didn't love her and care enough about her to want to see her doing good, to want to see her overcome the things she was going through, who knows, maybe she wouldn't have. Maybe she would have. Because some people, they have absolutely nobody there when they decide to come out of that and overcome it. And some people do. But this is the girl who I watched her one night. Her best friend is there. And it was during one of those parties I was talking about earlier. Her best friend is there. And her best friend is playing quarters with this guy, where you bounce the quarter off the table into the shot glass. And if you miss, you drink. If you make it, you don't drink. So this guy is dropping quarters in the glass and saying he's making it every time. And she's like, oh my God, he can't be making it every time, right? Because she's so drunk, she ain't even noticing that he's just dropping them in the glass. And my sister's like, oh yeah, he's making it every time. Every time. And the whole time she's missing it. She can't make a shot to save her life. Nope, not at all. Somewhere in the process of this, I got sent to bed. And so, a little while later, those two are back there and she's being raped by the guy who was just getting her drunk off her ass. And that's my sister's best friend, that she sat there and got drunk for this guy so he could rape her. And who knows, you know. And at the same time, this is the same girl. A couple years ago, in the neighborhood we used to live in, which was the poor neighborhood. We've never really lived anywhere fancy. It was the poor neighborhood in town. Nobody has nothing, you know, and if one bad thing happens, you're fucked. You're out on the street. You don't have power. You don't have water. You don't have whatever, because there was plenty of times we didn't when we were a kid. The river flooded. And that entire neighborhood flooded with the river. My older sister, that same girl, years later now, she was one of the people that got on a boat and went out there to pick those people and their belongings up and get them out of there. She was one of the people that helped put sandbags up to keep it from flooding more. It's amazing the beautiful things that can come out of that darkness. Villains aren't born, they're made. Well, heroes aren't born, they're made too. And usually it comes from being a villain first. Seeing what you don't want to be. Seeing what's in your shadow side. Healing it, working through it, overcoming it, and turning it around to become something beautiful and amazing. To sparkle and shine. And lift up the rest of the people around you. But you can't do that if you're busy judging them for their shadows. Because we all have our own. We are all human. And we have all at some point fucked up in some way. Some worse than others. Some earlier than others. But child or not, you still have that moment of fuck up. I will say there is one thing that I am extremely glad that I did not participate in when I was a kid. There was a group of girls. It wasn't often that I hung out with girls, but there was a group of girls that I was hanging out with at this point, like 3 or 4 of them, and we got in a fight with one of them. Yeah, it was 4, because we got in a fight with one of them. And we said some nasty things. She said some nasty things. Everybody got all pissed off and she went home. And these other 2 girls were like, ooh, we should grab some berries off that bush over there and we can make a poison berry pie and give it to her. And we were all set to make this poison berry pie and give it to her. And then I was like, wait a second, guys. Why don't we make a banana pie instead? And then we can go share it with her and it can be a friendship pie. And we can all make up. I watched a lot of Barney and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and Full House. I spent a lot longer than most kids probably do watching Barney, because it was like a fucking fantasy world of, I'd like to live there. Can I live there, please? Where is this world? So, at 7 years old or so, me and these 2 girls went into one of their houses and nobody was home. And we made a pie. We literally whipped it all up in this bowl, stuck it in a pie pan, stuck it in the oven, and cooked this pie by ourselves at 7 years old. And people can't even let their fucking 10-year-old have a lighter and a knife these days. Are you kidding me? If you show them how to use it, then they should be fine with it. And you know what? They should be able to use those things and understand them so they don't end up burning your house down. Because if they don't know how to use them, they're going to end up burning your house down, because they're going to find ways to do things like that. So we went in there and we made that pie and we went and we restored this friendship. Instead of deciding because she had hurt us, she deserves to die. And that's the whole point of a lot of what we were talking about at the beginning of this reading today too. Even though people have hurt us And we are like, oh, I hope they get karma, and I hope it's the baddest thing in the world, and I hope they get smashed by justice when it falls on them. If you can let things go, and if you can forgive things, then you're not busy wishing death upon those people who have hurt you. And what you're putting out comes back to you. So when you're putting out forgiveness and love and acceptance and care, compassion and understanding, those are the things that are going to come back to you too. And isn't that a much more beautiful thing to have to swallow off your plate at the end of the day than death, destruction, revenge, and mayhem? I know we all want to see them get what's coming to them a lot of times when it comes to situations like that. But honestly, on the other side of that, I would much rather see them heal. And I would much rather see them be able to be the good person that I know is inside of them, even if that good person hasn't came out yet. There is that good in everyone around you, and it can come out at any time. So I choose to pray and hope for that. 55:44 was on the clock. Being able to transition and transform the way that you're looking at things, and being able to build your own solid foundation and celebrate your wins, your victories, being able to remain stable and strong regardless of what's thrown your way, and being able to wish the best for people around you, regardless of whether or not they have done the worst to you, is something that is going to take you very far in this life. And it is going to keep you from having your own soul and your own heart, your own mind, and your own body poisoned by whatever poison these people are carrying around with them. Eventually, one day, that poison might wear off, and they might actually be a healing balm for other people too. Hurt people, and that is extremely true. But healed people are the ones who heal people, which means healed people who are healing people used to be the hurt people who were hurting people, regardless of whether or not we want to see ourselves that way, regardless of whether or not we want to believe it. At one point in time, we brought darkness into somebody else's life. And at the end of the day, we were not smashed to pieces for it. But we did go through healing, learning lessons that karma sent our way for us to be able to navigate through those things so we could see things from a different perspective than we used to have. And that's what I pray for others. For the karma to come in, for it to be as painless as possible, and for them to be able to work and navigate their way through those storms and learn the lessons that they need to become the person that I know is inside of them at the end of the day. The person that they truly want to be, even if they don't even know it yet. LMI, naked. Okay, so I don't wear no makeup, no purse in my hands. My resting bitch face is mistaken for the mean girl. But what if I told you there's nothing I want more in this world than somebody who loves me naked? Someone who never asks for love but knows how to take it. Are you that somebody who can see through that, who wants to fight through the flaws to see what's underneath? Because if you're not that person, how can you expect anybody else to be that person? What you put out is what you get back, right? If you want somebody to love you naked, you want somebody to see all the darkness, all the despair, all the hurt, all the pain, all the mental breakage. If you want somebody to be able to be around your anxiety or your depression when you're going through a moment or you're overthinking, then you got to be willing to be there through theirs too. To be that light in the dark that calls them back. I see your true colors. I love that song, and I absolutely love that part of that movie as well. Because from his darkness, he called to the light inside of her and brought it back out. Even in his darkness was consuming him. And the only light he had was her. And when that light went out, it's like the entire world ended in a way. Because that was the beauty he thought could never be destroyed. But it was gone. And there was no way he was going to let that happen, Mr. I'm not going to sing and I'm going to throw your guitar in the fire. Decided that, holy shit, no. I'm the only one now. I got to make sure that she comes back from this, or we're all fucked. And 5 seconds after he brought her back to light, she brought him to light. That's what we are for each other. We are beacons. We are lighthouses on a dark, stormy night. But so is everyone else around us. Even the ones that you least expect at times can be the ones to bring you out of that misery and despair. A good example of that would be, there was a guy that, at least he was honest about the fact that he didn't want a relationship. That's about the only thing he was honest about. But we had gotten a big fight, and I was staying with him at the time. We were friends with benefits at the time. And we had gotten in a big fight and moved my shit away from there. It had been about a month since I had seen him or talked to him because of the big fight that we had gotten into. And I was at the bar one night, and this is the one and only time that I actually went home with somebody in that manner. And this somebody turned out to be the friend of the person who couldn't take no for an answer. It was a setup. And I had a feeling too. I had a really strong feeling about it. But if curiosity killed the cat, it fucking killed me first. And I had to follow that curiosity, okay? So, went home with that guy. Found out the next week that yes, it was a setup. And I was in a really bad state for a minute. Crying and hurt and upset and just fucking, ugh. And so I called him and I was like, are you at home right now? And would you mind if I stop by? And he's like, oh, I'm out of town. He was like 6 hours away. He's like, I'm out of town for like 2 weeks. We're doing a job here. And I was like, okay, no worries. It's fine. And he's like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I'll be fine. I'm fine. And he's like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, I'm good. And so he called me about 2 hours later and he's like, I'm back in Emmett. And I got to take care of a few things, but if you wanted to come over here in a couple hours, you're more than welcome to. And he stayed home that whole weekend. Regardless of all the other nasty shit that happened there. In that moment that I really needed somebody, he dropped everything to make sure that he could be there. He's not the devil incarnate, even though sometimes he looks like it. There is good about everyone. There is bad about everyone. That's awesome that you remember that. There may be some other people here who remember it too. I may have told that story multiple times, honestly. Although that feels like one that I might have only told once or twice. So that definitely shows how much you've been here. Thank you for that, by the way. A powerful change in this world starts with you today. It is time to let go of the past, not the people or the love, but the pain and the hurt. Life is what we make it, what we choose to make it. Focus on the love. You know better than to allow abuse at this time. And others know better than to target you. Some have even realized their actions and will truly atone for them by a change in their behavior. For an apology that big, walk is the only thing that will work for you. But they also need to communicate their apology. Their apology needs to be as loud as their betrayal and their cover-up was. It's time for some people to face the music. free will on if they choose to do it willingly or will the universe do it for them. That guy is still a vague, distant part of my life at times. But as far as being a close friend, not so much. If he ever decides to actually admit to the things that I know about and actually decides to apologize for them, then maybe we could actually have that trust between us enough to be friends again. But at this point in time, we are acquaintances. And that's about what we have. Some have healed enough already, and some never will. Others have learned the hard way. Nothing wrong with that. It just takes patience. Better late than never, right? 8/27/21. So, I actually sent my mom, I watched this little clip recently on here, and it actually reminded me of me as a mother quite a bit. But there was a few things in there that reminded me of her too. She would probably die for most of my siblings. I don't think she would for me. I'll put it this way. There was one time that her boyfriend, it's always been, the boyfriend. This is why when it came to other people trying to disrespect my children in whatever way, it was like, oh no, motherfucker, you ain't gonna do that. There ain't no fucking way I'm gonna allow that shit to take place. Never. These are my kids, and I was the one put here to stand up and defend them, and I will to the fucking death. But there was one time. Exactly right, Cindy. Very, very true. And you know what? In the past, I was probably one of them because that is one of my shadow sides. In the past, I was definitely probably one of them. If you let pride get in the way or your ego get in the way, then you're never really going to have anything super great in life. So I'm doing the dishes and I'm whining about it and throwing a fit about it. I'm like 10 years old. And a lot of it is because, after my older sisters were gone and everything, I was the one who had to do any of that kind of stuff. My little brother and sister were always too little to do anything until they were too old to do anything. And then I told my mom, well, that's your fucking problem. It's not my fault that you decided they were too little to do anything till they're too old to get them to do anything now. But I'm throwing a fit about washing the dishes at 10 years old. And my mom's boyfriend grabs me by the hair and drags me out of the apartment and throws me in the grass and tells me that if I don't want to do the dishes, I could get the fuck out of his house then. And my mom agreed with him. Either that or she didn't disagree with him. She didn't fucking do a damn thing. Not a damn thing. She was right there the whole time. Didn't do a damn thing. Didn't care. And this is the man that was molesting me too, by the way. She didn't know, as far as I know. The cop thought she did. But as far as I know, she never knew about that. This is the same woman. Maybe a month or two later, our uncle is staying with us. And my little brother was doing something and my uncle smacked him on the back of the head. My mom screamed at him till she was blue in the face and threw his ass out of the house. That was her precious little boy. Can't do that to him. And my little sister was the same because she was the baby. Or there was one time where she had a boyfriend that was a ex-heroin addict who is now an alcoholic. And they got in fights all the time. And there was a few times where it was escalating. And in the place where I was living at that time, if you called the cops, they'd come over. And, there'd be a peaceful ending to the situation. They would come over and, if you weren't pressing charges, they would just make sure everything went smoothly, pretty much. And then they'd leave and they'd go away and they wouldn't bother you again. That's not the way it works around here. Exactly right, Cindy. But then again, where did we learn that from? Because I would go to war for my kids too, but the reason I would is because nobody was there to go to war for me. Some people learn it from somebody who would go to war for them, and some people learn it from somebody who wouldn't. And some people never learn it. But there was one night where things were escalating pretty good, and he looked like he was getting ready to hit her. They were getting really close, and instantly, me, my brother, and my sister are in between them. And I'm at the forefront of this, and I was like, you need to get the fuck out of here. I already called the cops. Get out of here before they get here. Goodbye. And he left. There's been a few people recently. One of them was telling me about how, because my dogs are little, and they're like, you should have got a big dog. Because my dog right here, she would defend me to the death. She'd be there to protect me through anything. And this other one is a woman, and she's like, oh, my kids would jump in and they would defend me to the death, and they would make sure that nobody ever hurt their mom because they love their mom, kind of like me and my brother and sister would with our mom. I'm not expecting my kids to do that. Not in any way, shape, or form. I am here to take care of my dogs. My little dogs that are here, I'm their protector. They don't need to be my protector. I am their protector. My kids, I am their protector. They don't need to be my protector. Although I will say that I did notice in one area, because like Thanksgiving a couple years ago, the first year that I was living the way that I'm living right now, I had no Thanksgiving dinner. I had nobody to spend it with. My ex and my kids were supposed to bring a plate to me. They never did. And actually, earlier that day, I ran into this guy. And this guy's like, hey, I got something if you want to have some fun later. And I was like, that depends on what it is. And he's like, some white. And I was like, yeah, I don't do that. And he's like, oh, you don't? He's like, weren't you friends with this person in the past? Or weren't you friends with this person? I was like, yeah, and that's part of the reason why I'm not anymore, because she wanted to continue doing that. She didn't want to have it around me. And so, we went our separate ways. And so a couple hours later, he shows up at my trailer and he's like, you know what? I was sober for 5 years when I ran into you earlier today. And I happened to get that today. I decided to flush it down the toilet, and I thought I would take you to grab some food so you'd have dinner tonight on Thanksgiving. At the same time, I was extremely upset that my kids and my ex had forgotten to bring me that plate over. And when they told me they forgot, I was like, you forgot? You forgot that your mom was starving on Thanksgiving. And you guys probably threw away parts of that dinner. You forgot? That is fucking insane to me. And it still is. Even to this day, it's insane to me that you forgot that your mom has nothing to eat on Thanksgiving night while you are stuffing your face. And at the same time, those are my kids to provide for. They shouldn't have to be worrying about where I'm getting my food or what's going on with me. But when you go from 10 years as a stay-at-home mom to doing it on your own, not doing it through child support, not doing it through whatever else, but doing it on your own. When you decide that for once in your life you're going to do something for you instead of for everyone else, and you do not receive the same support that you gave everyone else for years, for your entire life, you have nobody behind you. But this is something that is so important to you to be able to do that you choose to do it anyway. You choose to be homeless, to be without money, because it's that important to you to work on what you're working on, to create a change in this world, and to be able to create a change in your life, to be able to create a better life than you could ever give your kids if you just gave up and went and got a job at McDonald's. Which today is actually a pretty decent job. Although with the way that they raised prices right afterwards, it's not as decent as it once was. They just made up all these excuses for why they had to raise the prices, even though inflation over the last 30 years has risen dramatically while wages haven't, to the point that it just made billionaires out of everybody that's allowed to have slave labor, pretty much. It's a different form of slavery, but it's still slavery. And then they convince people that because we raised the wages, we have to raise the prices. No, you don't. You could eat some of that. We've been eating it for fucking 30 years that you haven't raised our fucking wages. You can eat it. Sometimes it's hard to see around some of that stuff. Because I just came to those conclusions in this last week as I've been thinking about how irritating it is that you're sitting there telling me that your children would stand up and defend you from anyone or anything. Did you fucking defend them? No. You allowed your abusive piece of shit partners to abuse them. That's how they learn to stand up and fight. And they also learn to stand up and fight for you because you are the pushover that's going to allow yourself to be abused and allow everybody around you to be abused instead of standing up and fighting back for yourself and your children and showing them how to do that. But some of them learn from watching you not do it, and some of them learn from watching you do it. And I made damn sure that I was going to show them from example that this is how you do this. There was one night that a couple drunk guys, and technically when I was staying at that place, this is the same guy from earlier, I was staying at that place for a little while. And usually the day that my kids came over, there wasn't anybody really around there. And the main guy usually stayed more sober, even though he drank enough that, you know, if he was actually sober, he would have been fucking half dying. But he was soberish on the days that they came over usually. And usually nobody else was around. Except for this one buddy. And that day they were both really drunk. Yes, I am. Send payment and throw your question down there and I will answer it between messages. And so this guy and my daughter, when he was around, they were constantly playing this game, a game. And it was irritating the fuck out of me because I knew it was going to turn into that. And it was this thing where she'd take his phone and start playing music on it. And he was really like possessive about the music. He was the one always playing the music. And nobody's supposed to be playing music but him. And so I knew it was going to turn into this. So she'd take his phone and she'd start playing music on it. And I'm like, Beja, give him his phone back. And she'd do it in kind of like a bullyish way. Like, this is my phone. I'm going to play the music and you can't have it back kind of thing. Basically acting like him. Mirroring himself back to him. Because she does a lot of that. And, you know, it's understandable. She is my daughter. I'm glad I don't do so much of that anymore. That comes with not absorbing their shit. But being able to just give it back to them. Keep your own shit. I don't want it. So, this escalates that day into he's going to take his phone back. And he's getting all pissed off because she won't give him his phone back. And on and on and on. And then he says something extremely fucked up to her. And I don't even remember what it was. I don't remember what her response was. But it sounded a lot like what mine might have been in that situation. And then he starts, well, I'm your elder and you have to respect me and you can't talk to me that way. And I looked at him and I was like, you know what, motherfucker? If you want respect, then you have to give respect. And if you're not going to give it to her, she doesn't owe you respect at all. It doesn't matter what age she is. You're both human. You both deserve that respect. And if one of you isn't going to give it, the other one doesn't need to either. Not the best way to handle it, but at the same time, I'm not going to jump on her for it. And immediately he starts in on me. And then his friend is like, well, I'm the one who makes the money here. And we had already had this conversation. Doesn't matter if you make the money here. I've been cleaning your house. I've been taking care of your 7 dogs. I've been helping you pull yourself up out of depression. And helping you work through a lot of the problems you got going on. I put in my fair share to be able to stay here. And you told me that there wouldn't be a whole lot going on the days that my kids came over so that me and my kids could have some good time together. Sorry, nope. And so I looked at him and I was like, we have already discussed that. I'll just get my shit and I'll go right now because it's not okay. And we went inside, we got my shit, we put it in the RV. As we were coming back out that first time, he's already apologizing. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. Stay. No, don't go. Don't go. And I'm like, nope, we're leaving. And that's because there is no way I will ever stand by and watch somebody abuse my children in any way, shape, or form, which sometimes can be used by your children to manipulate the situations as well. So you got to watch for that too. But there is no way in hell would I stand by knowingly and allow my children to be hurt. The only reason that they are where they are right now, because I could have done this differently. I could have went to court. I could have had child support. I could have got a place. Their dad doesn't make a whole lot of money. It's nice that they got one place that is a stable, strong household where they got everything that they need. Even if it is hard for us to have our time at times. It feels like that was the best way to go for them at the time. And they promised and guaranteed me and swore up and down that nobody was hurting them in any way. If they ever came to me and told me that somebody was hurting them, we would be doing this in a different way. I guarantee you that. As much as problems as me and their dad have had, and as much as we have gone through, he does love his kids. And I don't think he would intentionally hurt them, even though he will never, ever stand up for them the way that I do. Ever. There was one time that his dad, awesome. Thank you, by the way, Tori. There was one time that his dad, Beja, came over and she was saying the alphabet in Spanish. I was so proud. I was so happy. I was ecstatic. She had just started Head Start and she was doing so fucking awesome and she's learning a different language. And it's so great because, you know, there's a lot of people that are like, ugh, I can't stand those foreign people on the phone when you call anywhere anymore. And, you know, I can somewhat understand that they have a hard time understanding them because of the thick accents. I don't. So it is somewhat hard to understand. But just fucking, you know what? At least they're trying to learn other languages to bridge that gap. You're not. What the fuck are you doing? Nothing to bridge that gap. So how can you hate on somebody for doing something that's amazing? Something that you may not even be able to do. But who knows, because you'd never try anyway. So, as she's saying the Spanish alphabet, he starts in on, I don't understand why they're teaching them Spanish there anyway. They shouldn't be teaching them things like that. If they wanted to teach them something that was actually usable, they should be teaching them something like Latin. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Do you not realize that not one fucking person in this world speaks Latin anymore? Not one person. You want to know what's usable? Spanish. And when it comes to getting a job later in life, if they know Spanish, they can get a far better job. Spanish is something that is usable. And it's something that she should be proud of, and I want her to be proud of that. I don't want her to be upset about it or hating herself for it because of your racist bullshit. And so I started grabbing the kids, and we're leaving. And Shane is apologizing to them for my crazy. Instead of telling them that he agrees with me, because sitting at home he did. Sitting at home, he'd agree with me all the time on that. He didn't feel like the way that his dad felt about things was a good thing either. And he never believed in it, and he never agreed with it. And he had plenty of friends that were other races, but his dad was extremely racist. And instead of standing up to him for his wife and his children, he's going to apologize for his wife and his children's behavior. Our behavior was not the behavior that should have been being apologized for that day. Granted, I could have handled it a little bit better, but usually I did. I was the only one that could sit down and talk to his dad for any length of time without getting pissed off. Me and his dad used to sit and talk a lot. And a lot of that is because I didn't judge most of what he had going on, but I don't want you shoving that shit down my kids' throat. There is no fucking way you are going to turn my kids into little fucking racist bigots like you. Never going to happen. And I'm never going to let them feel bad for choosing to learn about other cultures and other people and choosing to be a part of that. That is something they should be proud of. Got your payment, beautiful. Thank you again, by the way. And if anybody wanted to be able to make a donation or purchase a question, the links are in the description box below. Thank you guys for that, by the way. Thank you as well for the likes, shares, comments, and subscribes. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate you. Surrender to the flow and love without condition. And even through all of that shit with his dad, you know what? I love his dad. When his dad died, I was so fucking upset. Sounds good, sweetheart. I was so upset when his dad died. And I'm not very good with funerals. That is the only wake I went to in my life. We went in and did the body viewing and all that kind of stuff because he really wanted to be on display after he died. And she was always telling me, he better fucking die first, because if he doesn't die first, I just know that motherfucker's going to put me on display for everybody to see after I'm dead. She wanted to be cremated and she didn't want anybody to see her at all. And I think she spent a lot of time wishing for him to die. I think she really regretted that after he died. But we went to that wake and it was awful. And everybody else's energy and all that kind of shit. And then afterwards, I got to be alone. So it wasn't a very good night for me that night. I got a hold of somebody that had recently got a hold of me. Somebody that wanted to be more than friends, and I didn't want to be more than friends. But that was really the only person I had to reach out to at that time, and asked if he wanted to go get a couple drinks as friends. It took me 4 days to get rid of him after that. I specified several times, as friends, as friends, as friends. So couldn't feel too guilty about the fact that I still felt the same way. Hi, sweetheart. Nice to see you. But it doesn't matter what's underneath the differences, and it doesn't matter what's underneath, or it doesn't matter about the differences or the hate. What's underneath all of that, at the end of the day, is love. You can find something that you love about every person you interact with, if you actually looked for it, if you're not just looking at the surface. That man was so self-righteous and judgmental when it came to a lot of things. He was Christian and he was sitting on his pompous little throne over there. And at the same time, because I was able to sit down and have conversations with him without the hate getting in the way, I was able to do things like, one day we had a conversation about how stealing is so wrong and it's a sin and people are going to go to hell. And I was like, okay, if you think that, think about this for a minute. Gotta get a drink. Think about this for a minute. Say a woman goes into a store and she steals food for her babies. Her babies that God placed in her hands, or in my case, God and Goddess, placed in her hands to take care of, nurture, protect, look after, feed, keep safe. She goes in there and steals that food for those babies. Did you ever think that the reason she didn't get caught is because he was watching out for her in the same way? Or the reason that when she did get caught, the person who caught her decided, you know what? I don't want you going to jail. I want you to be able to take care of your babies. So I'm going to buy this food for you. Maybe that happened because she wasn't doing something so wrong in trying to take care of her babies in that way. Yes, she wasn't placing it in faith and just trusting and knowing it was going to come to her. She was taking it into her own hands and going out there and getting it. But at the same time, she was doing what she needed to do to take care of her babies. And he was like, wow, I never thought of it that way before. I was like, do you think she's going to hell? I don't think she is. The only way that you can make those changes and impacts and differences in this world when you're dealing with things like that is to be able to let the judgment and the hate die down. You can't compromise and get on the same page or shift perspectives or anything else when you are so focused on being right or so focused on defending your position and hating anybody who opposes that opinion or belief. Because there is no talking then. There's no logic then. There's no compromising then. There's no getting to the bottom of it then. There's only hate and division and lashing out to hurt each other and tit for tat. But when you can actually sit down and have a conversation with somebody that is so filled with hate, and not allow their hate to spread to you, you can make some amazingly beautiful impacts and changes in this world. But it takes being able to let go of the need to be right, of the need to defend yourself, of feeling ashamed or guilty or defensive of your position or the values or beliefs or opinions that you hold. And being able to understand that other people are going to think differently and that's okay. And sometimes you're never, ever going to be able to shift their views or perspectives on anything. Live and let live. Surrender to what is. And don't focus so much on what will be or what isn't the way that you want it to be. Seeing things from this different perspective is allowing you to understand things so much better too. The shifts that you've had, the changes that you've had, the stalls, the delays, the unexpected obstacles, the pauses in situations, the journeys you've had to take on your own away from the people that you love, and the journeys that they had to take on their own away from you. A lot of these things have allowed you to grow, to shift, to change, to find different beliefs, to find different parts of yourself that maybe you have never seen. And them too. To find different parts of them that maybe you've never seen or noticed before. And all of those things are a lot of what's going to go into the repairs that are being made in the connections that you have at this time. The peace and the harmony that's going to come into these connections. You have really worked hard for the success and the recognition that's coming your way to be able to overcome the challenges and the obstacles. The strength and endurance that you have gained from this journey that you have been on is something that is amazing to behold all in itself. And the fact that you have been able to love and find beauty in the more vulnerable, sensitive, intuitive, empathic, kind, compassionate, loving, accepting, understanding, forgiving person that you are, that you've been able to bring out more. Those things are what's going to cause those healing moments. That peace, that prosperity in your life is going to come from being able to be that vulnerable, beautiful side of yourself that may have been shoved in a closet for many years, but was able to come out because of the trials that you had to go through, because of the darkness that came out in you, because of those villain parts of yourself that you had to face, see, and acknowledge. So now you're able to accept the villain parts of others as well. Now you're able to be a good mother or father or friend or partner. One who is accepting, loving, and unconditionally cares for and respects and loves the people around them. And if you want others to love you naked, like we were talking about earlier, then you have to love them naked too. You have to be able to see beyond those flaws and those faults and that darkness and that despair, to be able to see the true colors that are underneath that and bring them forth within yourself or in others. So, Tori, any guidance from your guides on pursuing your purpose right now? Definitely finding so much beauty in yourselves that was not there before or that you did not see before. Maybe even beauty in those that you love, that were your parents, that were doing the best they could at that time, but it may not have been perfect. You might be seeing some of your imperfections now and really having a lot more compassion and understanding for those that went before you. Realizing that they were breaking their own cycles and chains too, because you know what? My mom did not beat the living fuck out of us on a regular basis. She also did not run to her boyfriend or her husband or whoever and have him beat the living fuck out of us on an all the time basis. But that was because that's how she grew up and she didn't want that done to her kids. So she was breaking her own cycles. But she may not have did everything perfect either, because she didn't even know how to do it if you weren't doing it by beating the living fuck out of everybody till they're submissive to you. So she did the best she could with what she had available at the time. And that's all any of us are doing in any relationship. So, guidance about pursuing your purpose right now. Rainy days, learning how to dance in the rain. I've been dancing in the rain myself the last couple weeks. And you know what? That fucking rainbow came smiling through with a pot of gold at the end. It's amazing how much less harsh and cruel that storm can be when you're just able to enjoy it instead of getting sucked into it. One thing after the next, it falls apart. Destruction is nature's art. Wishing for sunny skies, but all I see is the clouds' cries. Drowning in the pain all around, looking for solid ground. All alone, still no home. All my pain flows to this poem. Misery finds me here. There is nothing here to fear. Sunny days will come back to me, and from this pain I will be free. What's funny is yesterday and today, along with everything shifting, the fucking freezing ass cold of this last week now has sunshine. It's been sunny yesterday and today. So it's not just a metaphorical thing over here. It was also a physical thing. I didn't have heat in my trailer for a couple of the coldest days in the last week. And it was actually the coldest days we've had this winter. And now I got my own heater. But the person who was trying to control me by having me stay outside of their house had lent me their heater earlier this winter, and I was like, I have the money right now, I should just be getting one and getting the propane tank so I don't got to worry about it. And I didn't. And so when it came time to try to manipulate me or bend me to his will, that was one of his control tactics, was to rip the heater away from me in the cold. And then he called me a whore, and I was like, are you kidding me? You can't call me a whore. The reason you're pissed off at me is because I won't be your whore. What is wrong with you? So anyway. Awesome. That's a good second question. And even with all of that going on, I did not let that misery and despair completely engulf me and drag me down with it. I decided, no, everything's happening for a reason, and everything's going to work out, And here in a couple days, things are going to turn around. Everything's going to be fine at the end of it. I shared on here that I was in need of some help because pride be damned. Ask for that fucking help when you need it. How is anybody supposed to know about anything you got going on if you don't reach out? Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. So call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'd understand. We all need somebody to lean on sometimes. And if everybody leans on you, then why shouldn't you be allowed to lean on others? And you listen to people all the time, oh, they're just putting all that stuff all over social media to get attention. They're attention whores. Or they're trying to fucking reach out because they're hurting and in despair. And they're hoping that somebody's going to have enough fucking decency to let them know they're not fucking alone in this pain. Exactly. And that's reminding me of not going to drown in the water because the good Lord ain't bringing me home. So, being able to reach out and ask for that help is something that is very important. Not letting pride get in the way, not letting image get in the way, wanting everybody to see you as the person who has it all together all the time. Because you know what? Everybody sometimes has a day when things are falling apart and they could use assistance. It's the ones who aren't going to reach out that you usually find face up in the river because they decided it was too fucking hard and they're alone and there's nothing and no one and it's darkness. So if you don't want to find yourself face up in a river, you got to be okay with people seeing that you're not perfect. And at the end of the day, people aren't looking for perfect. They're looking for real. They're looking for raw. They're looking for you. So be you. Others may have purposefully overburdened you, put their workload fully on you, and refused to help, so that you would be distracted and you wouldn't have time for your own goals. And at the same time, you chose to accept that workload. You chose to put it on your back, and you chose to believe that it was your responsibility to take care of everything and everyone, and that the whole world was going to go up in flames if you weren't there to do it all. Accountability. At the end of the day, you have to choose to go, wait a second, I'm a human. And as a human, I cannot do everything all the time. And sometimes I do need to look after my own interests and work on my own things. And I need to tell other people to fucking get lost. Go take care of your own shit. Right now I got enough of my own shit on my plate that I can't add yours to it. Because it's going to weigh me down far too much. Others never gave you the recognition or acceptance that you did deserve. Look internally for that validation. It's the only one that can't be taken from you unless you let it. If you can't acknowledge yourself, you will never see it from others either. You will never, ever, ever see how fucking amazing you are from the eyes of others. There can be 500 people out there that are looking at you like you're the best thing that ever happened to this fucking planet. And you would never, ever know it. Sometimes you don't even know it, even when you do see it in yourself. But seeing it in yourself is the only way that you're going to feel it and feel good about it. Exactly. And you know what? There's a lot of times that we pull off that mask and we're like, holy fuck, I was wearing a mask? Where did that come from? I didn't even know I was doing that. And you're like, finally, I'm me. And then a month later, you're like, oh shit, I just had to pull off another mask. And sometimes it's not even a mask, it's you actually shifted and changed. 4411 was just on the clock too. Sometimes it is that you weren't even wearing a mask. That is who you were at that time. But just because you were that person at that time doesn't mean you're that person right now. And that's okay too. Being able to be okay with the fact that people do change. Some people will tell you, and they will fight tooth and nail with you to tell you that nobody ever changes, ever. And that's because in their lifetime, they have never experienced anybody changing, including themselves. They've stayed stuck in the same miserable mindset and thoughts that they've had since the beginning of time. And even then, they have still changed over the years, whether they want to admit it or not. So remembering that people can change is also going to be a very good thing for you as well. I feel like it's because there might actually be some people that are looking to change. You've been a very strong leader and one who leads through example. You've shifted. You've changed. You have seen those parts of yourself inside of you that you want to make different in some way, that you want to work on. You've seen the areas where you felt like it was a weakness, and you've decided, this is what I need to work on. I need to enhance my skills in this area. I need to really pay attention to what I'm doing in this area, because this is something very important to me. And everybody finds different things that are important to them. But you're leading the way for a lot of people on that front. That's what wolves are about a lot of times. Giraffe, visionary. Rise above earthly matters. Glide through life with grace. You are able to see the right path. Stand tall in your self-worth and love with a big heart. Wolves are also about loyalty. And, when it comes to arguments and fights within the pack, that happens. There is arguments and fights within the pack. Especially when it comes to this person's the lead, or this wolf's the leader right now. But this wolf over here wants to be the leader. And this wolf over here thinks that they can do a better job. They think that they're the stronger one. They think that they're the smarter one, the more cunning one. They think that they'd be able to protect the pack better than this wolf. And so this wolf will challenge this wolf. And the winner will be the leader of the pack. And that's the way it works with wolves. It's the way it works with most animals, including humans, if you want to get technical. There's been plenty of times where, say, there's a kingdom and the king is on the throne and his son is ready to take this throne, but the old bastard just won't die. It's a fucked up way of putting it, but that's how the son is feeling. He's like, it's my time. Right now, I'm in the prime of my life. This is the time I should be leading. And we're stuck in the past because this guy does not want to shift. He doesn't want to change. He doesn't want to go forward. I got so many good ideas. And then this son fights the king. And the winner is the one who takes the throne now. And it's not because they were competing necessarily. It's because it was time for that shift and that change. And right now you are definitely stepping into that leadership role. But remember to be humble in that position of power as well, because one day it will be time to hand those reins off. And how you treated others as that leader is how you will be treated by the new leaders that come in. Pathfinder, release your past and start a new journey. You are the teacher and you help others to find their way. There will be challenges, but your soul is strong. Perseverance is your secret power. You have a love that endures. So that beautiful love that you have that endures is going to be a very important part of your purpose and your path going forward. Leaning into that love, holding on to that love, not allowing anything else to obscure that love or to poison the heart that beats within your chest. Leading with love, with kindness, with care, with understanding, with empathy, with compassion, even when it comes to those people. Say, in my case, it would be pedophiles would be at the top of that list of something that can stir my hate. And then you got to ask yourself, well, where did they learn it? Where did they learn it does not excuse what they decided to do. It doesn't. Not in any way, shape, or form. At the same time, where did they learn it? That is a cycle that this person chose not to break. Maybe the next person in their line will choose to break it. Maybe they won't. Has this person served time for what they have done? Did they spend most of their life behind bars for what they have done? In some places they do, in some places they get fucking house arrest. Ridiculous and crazy, right? House arrest. Oh yeah, that's gonna teach somebody. Some of them change and some of them don't. Some of them will never see anything wrong with anything that they have done. And even then, you cannot allow that hate to consume you. Because if it does, it warps who you are. It warps the message that you bring. And it causes you to be in an energy that is not very healing to yourself or the world outside of you. The plan that you have in place for your channel, as far as social media and marketing, is it a good plan? The first thing that popped in my mind reading that this time is let your God and Goddess be your press release. Put yourself out there and know that those who were meant to find you will find you. That doesn't mean you can't share what you're doing. That doesn't mean hide what you're doing or conceal it. It doesn't mean any of that. I mean, sure, tell people about it. But I will say this much, when it comes to my channel, that's probably part of the reason it's taken so long to grow too. I don't run around telling everybody about it. I did when I first started it. I would send people messages on Facebook. Those really annoying messages that come from people all the time where they're, oh, I just started this new home beauty thing. Please purchase my products. I used to get so many of those. Oh, they were so annoying. And at the same time, when you're doing it yourself, you have a little more understanding and compassion about it. So there was a time where I was actually doing that, and I had a group on Facebook where I was sharing my videos on there as well as sharing my videos on Facebook. And then I was worried about people watching my videos. And then at some point, I was just like, you know what? I don't need to focus on and worry about whether or not I'm telling people about it, whether or not they're watching it, whether or not anybody's supporting me. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to do what I'm doing. And the people who are watching it are going to think that it is important enough, and they're going to be able to overcome the shame of it or whatever may be attached to it, to be able to share it, to be able to like it, comment on it, to be able to do all those things, to be able to support you and to grow that network for you. It will grow itself in a lot of ways. Recently, the guy that I've been seeing for a little bit, which, as we've discussed today, no relationship is perfect, so it definitely ain't a perfect one. But there's been a lot of amazing moments and a lot of good things in it. And there's been some pretty moments, especially considering there's a lot of things that have not been exposed there that I know about, that I'm patiently waiting for them to be addressed. And I've mentioned them a few times. He's been telling a lot of people about it recently. And I'm pretty sure a fair amount of those people have been watching, because there's been a lot of shifts and changes in some of the messages that have been coming out. So, there will be other people who see you and recognize you for the beauty and talent that you have within you, that you're spreading to the world. And they will be your press release for you. We're going to go ahead and pull a couple messages for that as well. I need to believe in myself again. I need to trust in myself and my powers and my skills. I need to express myself again, fearless of other people's views. Oh, my phone is apparently overheating. The only thing about having it be sunny that kind of sucks, and it's not even hot in here. It's actually a little chilly in here today. But I did just turn on my heater again. So, being able to express yourself, fearless of the opinions or views of others. When you start sharing that stuff with your friends and your family and your groups on social media and stuff like that, it can be a little bit nerve-wracking, especially if you're somebody who spent a lot of your life as invisible, especially if you've had a lot of shifts and changes in your beliefs or your values, especially if you believe in a lot of things that the people around you don't believe in or they condemn in some sort of way. It can really start to make you question everything you're saying on your channel. It can stop you from expressing yourself fully on your channel because you don't necessarily want to be saying something about somebody, even if you're not using their name in it. You may not want to be saying something about somebody that they could possibly hear or whatever the case may be. And so it can really hinder a lot of your progress when you start doing that. So remember to make sure that you take that into account and that you really thicken up your skin for whatever backlash may come your way or whatever backlash you may be afraid of coming your way, so that you can just be you when it comes to expressing yourself. And yes, that is a good idea as long as you can still continue to put you out there. You may have dealt with very bullying siblings growing up. See, and especially talking about things that you went through like that and having your siblings on there watching it, it can be extremely hard to deal with that too. I'm pretty sure that may be a lot of the reason why most of my family hates me anymore. Because I've talked about everything on here. And you know, they may not have been my stories to tell, but they were my stories to tell. They were my stories to tell because I was the one living through the torment that was coming with my siblings. One of my older sisters used to scream at me until I was a ball on the floor, shaking and crying, and she'd scream at me some more because now she's pissed off because I'm that ball on the floor screaming or ball on the floor crying because you know what? She made me cry and now she's upset even more. And she's doing the same thing to me that was done to her. She's becoming that monster who hurt her. And she didn't like herself for it. And at the same time, that is my story. That is the pain that I went through. That is the things that I had to deal with. And I'm not saying they're the same person now that they were then. But at the same time, it's my story. Of course, they learned it from somewhere. Know that it wasn't your fault. You are just a beautiful swan in the wrong family. But honestly, it was the right family to make you the person that you are. So be grateful that you are not blind to things that are similar. It's why you are 10 steps ahead. So the things that you went through, the experiences that you had, the hard times, and the hurtful people, all of those things have made you who you are and have made you the person that you want to be. It all went into creating you. Make sure that you put you in there. It's time to let go of any kind of shame, any kind of guilt, any kind of fear. It's time to decide that your story and what you went through is not necessarily who you are, but it made you who you are. Without it, you wouldn't be here. And in expressing and sharing those things that you have gone through and the hurt and the pain that molded you, Believer by Imagine Dragons is coming to mind. All of those things went into creating you, and by expressing those stories and sharing them with the world, every time you share those stories, you heal a bit more. Every time you share those stories, the people listening to you heal a bit more. Every time you share those stories, people realize, hey, I'm not alone. Whoa. And you get to share your perspectives on it as well. Like the fact that even though my sister was doing that then, my sister is a very different person now. She may have been the villain in my childhood in a lot of instances. She was also my hero. I looked up to her. I followed her everywhere. I fucking absolutely loved her so fucking much. And when she moved out of our house, she pretty much moved out of my life and hasn't really been a part of it since. Probably partially because of the shame and the guilt. Partially because of having to look in the mirror every time she looked at me and see the person that she was, that she hated so much at that time. And possibly part of it because I'm over here sharing everything that we went through. It doesn't matter though. What matters at the end of the day is that I get to share my perspectives on that. And I get to say, yes, she was the devil incarnate, but she was also divine incarnate. Both. And if you want to get technical, in the Bible, it talks about how we are created in the image of God, right? And then we ate the fruit of knowledge. Now we're not just the image of God. We're not just this perfect entity with no flaws at all that looks like God. No, instead now we have the knowledge of everything else. We became God by learning about good and evil, by having both within us. So does that mean the devil is God and God is the devil? According to that story, anyway, if that's the story that you believe in or subscribe to, that would make a lot of sense right there. That they are one and the same person, and in each one of us, we have both. And at the end of the day, it's not which wolf you feed. Because if you starve one of those wolves, it's going to get fucking ravenously hungry. And it is going to lash out. Even like, say, the most evil person ever. And they got all these plans. And then all of a sudden, something happens where, say, their child gets caught in the crossfire. Or say somebody came into their life and they were like, holy fuck, this is an amazingly beautiful being. I could never hurt this person. And that person gets caught in the crossfires. And all of a sudden they're becoming a hero to make sure to save that person. Everyone has both within them. Exactly. And your whole truth has to do with you are both evil and good. I have had my evil moments throughout my life. I have had moments that I can look back on that I could cringe. But anymore, I don't care if anybody hears them. Because just because that happened then does not mean that's who I am now. Kind of like the fact that when I was younger, I shoplifted a lot. A lot of it had to do with stealing food because we were hungry and didn't have a whole lot. And back in that day and age, there wasn't so much welfare given away. There wasn't so many food stamps that you could just go in and get. And, everything was a lot more difficult. They made you go through so much to get it. And it was very rarely given out. I mean, they would let you die rather than treating you at a hospital if you didn't have the money. Because money was the most important thing, period. And everybody can say the world's going to hell in a handbasket these days and it's so awful. I wouldn't have wanted to live 100 years ago, let alone 1,000 years ago. Granted, there were some amazing things about that time frame, but there were some fucking awful things about it. I probably would have been burned at the stake a long time ago if I was born back far enough. Just for having moles, let alone anything else. I am so glad that I am. Because that is an amazing message to have there. So, as far as your plans for advertising your channel, Swan, Grace. You who glides across the waters of my soul, bring me your wisdom and your light. Help me transform into elegance and grace. Inspire me with dignity and the spirit of my beauty. Grace. What is grace? When grace is given to somebody, grace is basically forgiveness. It's like the highest form of forgiveness. It's, you may have messed up in this moment, but that little blemish there could not change the purity that is within you. Believing that about yourself and about the people that you're dealing with. A lot of times, people are going to lash out at you. They are going to get in their feelings, and they're going to get upset about whatever it is that you're speaking about on your channel. They're going to get defensive. They're going to get hurt. They're going to be feeling like you are somehow attacking them for whatever they have going on in their life. Being able to take a moment to breathe before you respond in those situations is going to be very beneficial to you. Being able to take the high road, being able to take this person's message that came in where they were like, I can't believe that you said that I am a hurt person who has hurt people too, because I've never hurt anybody in my life. I can understand being in that energy, especially when you're hurting and you have so many people hurting you and you're like, I did nothing to deserve this. Why are all these people hurting me? I've never hurt anybody. I've never done anything wrong. The only people who believe that are people who are in very self-righteous energies, people who are never going to change, people who are never going to look in the mirror and address their own problems. Sometimes we do it ourselves. We put on that blinder. So it helps us to be able to interact with those people and be like, take a deep breath before I address this person that's screaming in my face. And go, okay, have you ever been really upset and you're crying and you're hurt and somebody comes over to try to help in that moment and you scream at them? Or you tell them to go away and leave you alone because you don't want their help anyway. You're hurting that person right there, right then. You're also telling that person next time somebody's in pain, don't reach out to them because they're going to hurt you. So being able to deal with situations in a way where you can talk to the person in a calm manner and get them to see themselves not as the villain in that moment, but as somebody who was hurting in that moment, and that it's okay. And it's okay to accept that you have that within you, because we all do. And the best way to be able to heal and feel okay with everything going on right now is to acknowledge that. Vibrancy. You were born to shine and inspire. Practice humility to avoid jealousy. Be grateful for life, and more good things will come. Be true to yourself and recognize your brilliance. Be grateful for the fact that you have an outlet to be able to put this on, that you have a place to be able to express yourself, that people can find. A place that you probably would have wished for when you were younger and going through some of the things that those people that are going to be coming to your channel are going to be going through. Be grateful for the amount of views you have going on now, the amount of recognition that's coming in, even if it doesn't feel like it's the amount you would like. That gratitude and that high vibrational energy that you'll be putting out towards that is also a lot of what's going to generate that flow. It's what's going to keep it growing. And it's also going to put you in a vibrational state that is going to attract a lot more people to it as well. There's been a lot of times on my channel where there have been assholes who have gotten on there and said some really fucked up shit. And there's been a lot of people who have gang stalked me and trolled me. And, you know, I pretty much know when it's them anymore. At first, I didn't realize it. It took a little bit. But after a little bit, it was like, okay, this is a pattern. It's happening all the time. It's the same fucking people doing it repeatedly. And then occasionally there'd be some new people that jumped on and started trying to attack me in that way too. They knew all of what my triggers were, and they specifically pushed on those specific buttons. Working on your triggers and healing some of those things so that they can't trigger you into saying things that really is not who you are or who you want to be. And it may be who you are, but it's not who you necessarily want to be. So acknowledging that it is a part of you and being okay with what anybody else is thinking about you or how anybody else is behaving realizing there's really nothing you can do about the way they choose to behave. And you don't have to run away from them or block them or, and sometimes, yes, sometimes it is necessary to do that. And you don't have to yell at them and jump on the defense and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes the problem can be solved by just taking a couple deep breaths and expressing yourself from the heart. And sometimes just getting into that heart energy like that will call on that other person's heart and cause them to get into that heart energy too. And sometimes your perspectives and theirs can be shifted dramatically by the conversation that you have. It's an opportunity to be able to learn and grow each time we have something like that happen. As long as we don't get stuck in our ego or our pride or our defensiveness or our fear or our hate. Beauty in everything, exactly right. And especially in yourself. Because if you can't see the beauty in yourself, even with all the darkness, even with all the other crap that's thrown into you, and really seeing that your darkness is beauty, because it is. I'll put it this way. Being able to stand up and defend and protect your family. Being able to say, I would take a bullet for them, or I would send one out for them. Somebody who could kill somebody is a monster, right? Somebody who could pick up a gun and pull that trigger and kill somebody. What do you think about that person initially, without knowing the situation at all? This person killed somebody, they're a fucking monster. Kind of like when I was talking about a couple months ago, soldiers are legal serial killers. That's what they are. They are literally legal serial killers. The ones who have extreme, severe PTSD later in life and have a hard time living with themselves and constantly wake up screaming from nightmares, those are the ones that hate that monster. Those are the ones that may not have even realized what they were getting into or how it would affect them to kill another person. But how are you supposed to take care of and defend and stand up for your family if you are not that monster? That monster can also be a good thing in certain circumstances. So the shadows and the darkness that are within you can be strengths, can be good things. When we are denying them, that's when they generally tend to turn into very bad things. Because we're starving that wolf, and that wolf is going to come out ravenous, like we were talking about earlier. I felt very into this, and I really feel like there's a lot of people who could hear and use a lot of the messages that went into that one too. Including myself sometimes. So, that's what I have for those questions, and we are going to do one more closeout message, and then we're going to be done for today. And once again, if anybody wants to be able to donate, you can find my Cash App, PayPal, Amazon wish list in the description box below. Truly appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for the support you send this way. It has really been helping out, especially recently. And thank you to everybody who has liked, shared, commented, subscribed, all that kind of stuff. It really all helps me out so much. The aligning that you guys are doing currently in your life is really bringing you even more on track with what it is that you want to create and manifest in this lifetime. You're really learning how to listen to each of the messages that are coming your way, to be able to discern them and to be able to see them for what they are, to be able to act on what you feel is right and to be confident in that, to remain hopeful and optimistic even in hard times, and to be able to dance in that rain. To be able to express yourself with truth and freedom. Being able to listen to that nudge and not feel like you're crazy for believing that your intuition is real. All of those different things are really creating a lot of stability and strength within your life. Nighttime lover, daytime ghost. My heart beats faster, but you only come at night. I know it's a disaster I try so hard to fight. You keep me so distant, but you make me melt in an instant. Why can't you just be real and show what you feel? Why must you drink to reveal what you think? When morning comes, I'm alone. You return to your zone. Until you figure out what you want, only in your thoughts will I haunt. No more chasing for this girl. Let your love unfurl. So all the different things that you can do to be able to block or mask or escape or hide who you are and what you want, to not show your heart and your vulnerability to this world, all of them are toxic in ways. People can hate drug addicts and alcoholics all they want. Those aren't the only addictions there are. Running away from situations, that can be an addiction. Eating too much, staring at a TV, deciding you want to hide yourself away from the world, all of that stuff can be an addiction, and all of that stuff can be toxic in ways. And all of that stuff is literally because you don't want to unmask yourself or be seen by the world around you. So being able to be okay with who you are and confident about it, being able to express yourself fully, is something that is really going to bring you up out of a lot of the things that you may be doing to mask. That is awesome. October 25th. I know your heart is broken right now. You've already suffered so much. I'm sorry that I'm a part of it. You know how to heal. Please step up and into your power. I don't like seeing you so alone and hurt. Do something fun without guilt. Go out. No more time alone. So, there could definitely be people in your past who have hurt you as well, that have really seen your light dim in some sort of way. And they really want to see you shining bright again. You may have really brought a lot of love, laughter, lighthearted energy, and beauty into people's lives. And right at this moment, you may be going through a lot of healing work, which is good. It's good to take that time alone and away from the world to be able to work on you, to get yourself on track or to get yourself feeling good again. But there also comes a time when it's too much time away. And so you got to get back out there again, be seen again, be heard again, and be comfortable with it. Be okay with the fact that whatever you were going through or working on or whatever situation fell apart was not perfect, and that you're human. And it's okay that everybody is seeing that. It's okay that everybody knows what happened. I live in a very small town. This town is extremely small, small enough to the point that I cut off a group of friends at one point and then started something with someone, and come to find out this someone was the stepdad of one of those girls. So yeah, it's a very small place here. Hold on. And everybody knows everything about everyone, and you got to be okay with that if you're going to be able to live here. And so that is pretty much what I have for today's reading, guys. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this reading. Once again, before we go, I have these beautiful roses from Rose Forever. I'm going to sit this down for a second. I have these beautiful roses from Rose Forever right here. They are absolutely gorgeous, and they smell so good too. These roses will last about a year, which is fucking awesome. And they don't even have water. They are completely chemical free, and everything is vegan made. And if you guys are interested in being able to get some of these roses, they have a phenomenal sale going on their website right now. And also there is a link in my description box below where you can get an extra $25 off too. So go check out their roses. Although if I was going to pick the roses myself from their channel, I probably would have picked a different color because they have some amazing colors on there too. I really like the dark blue and the light blue, but there's like purple and orange and green and yellow. There's all kinds of awesome colors on there. And I will probably be showing these later this year too, so you guys can see what condition they stayed in if you didn't decide to buy some. What was so awesome about this too is I really wanted some of these last year. I was looking at them last year and I was like, oh, those are so awesome. It would be cool to be able to get some of those. And I was working on something with somebody. There was an opportunity that came along, and I was like, oh my God, this is taking too much time. And I got so many other things going on, and it's so hard to be able to fit this into my schedule. And I was like, I need to not do this. I need to just tell this person that, you know what, I'm not going to be able to do this right now. And yes, it's a great opportunity, but I'm going to have to turn it down, and maybe we can do something later. And I was like, and something else will come along. And sure enough, right after I did that, this opportunity came along. So if you click that and you go to their website and purchase something using my coupon code, I do get a commission for that as well. So I appreciate that. And I really hope you guys have a beautiful night or day, whatever it is, wherever you are when you're watching. Bye-bye, guys.